Smoke Some Podcast. It's the visionary mind. I see it, I think it, I make it happen. We got another episode at the Mothership Sanctuary. We got a very special guest. We got a pioneer, an activist, a cultivator, a man of many traits. I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself.
I'm Rick Anstiss. Like you said, many hats, I suppose. Vice President of Michigan Weedsters, co-owner in Big Cloud Farms, activist, lover of the plant, cultivator. Just everything that this plant represents, I try to enact in.
Yeah, for sure. And we appreciate your work that you have
Thank
done
you.
for the state and other things that you have done as well. So I kind of want to start off in the beginning. Like, how did you grow up and how did you become this person that we all know and love?
Well, I guess at the very beginning of it all was an interesting start to my life. I was adopted at 1 year old.
Okay.
And I was in an, I don't know if you call it an orphanage, but, a place where children were in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And my adopted parents, which I don't really refer to them as that, just my mother and father.
Right, because you were raised by them.
Came and chose me and picked me up and said that was what they knew they needed in their life, and
right.
Just gave me the most love, respect, and ability to grow that I could have probably gotten anywhere else. Right. So feel really blessed for that. That it's a astronomical odds to even come to this planet in birth,
right,
and then to maybe be in a limbo state and find yourself in the loving arms of a family is a great gift. So they've really instilled all of those kind of qualities. I believe that I try to exuberate, and then again back to the plant. Her very essence is so easy to follow.
Right.
It's not a hard concept. Heal, help, love, bring back together, and do it in a colorblind, borderless way. So Cannabis doesn't see anybody's religion, race, or creed. Mm-hmm. And she damn sure doesn't know where Ohio and Kentucky or Indiana and Michigan meet.
Right.
So, in that healing process, that gives her the abundance to be across the planet.
Right.
Which she is and always has been for 10,000 years helping people. So, and going to do it again for another 10,000 after we're gone.
Right.
It's been pretty constant, even with the great attempt of the world, I guess, but our government particularly to exile completely. Mm-hmm. Well, they wanted to banish this plant off the face of the earth.
Why do you think that's the case?
Because of its ability to allow people like myself and many other caregivers and medicine men and shamans and so forth across the world that know how the powers of this plant to avert from them emerging and helping and healing, because we're in a pharmaceutical cycle. They did a lot of work to make sure that we were addicted to all this shit.
Opioids and your pain medication.
Yeah, why would they expose its opponent?
Right.
And since the early 30s when they put it into that probate state, and then in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it just built more and more fear, terror, propaganda, lies, racial stigma, all over the plant of loving, light, compassion. We're on Easter Sunday here, and I think about the holy anointing oil, and I wonder, I'm curious if the translation of the word cannabism doesn't fall into the word or the meaning of this particular plant. There's two testaments, right? So there's first the original, and then the second, the New Testament. And I believe it's in the New Testament that the meaning of that word changes just a smidge.
Right.
And when you revert back to its Anglo-Saxon whatever definition, it's a plant that's actually poisonous.
Right.
But in the Old Testament, it didn't refer it back to that. It actually sounded like all these plants that are in the tombs of these kings and these pharaohs that we're finding to be cannabis is that plant.
And also, if you look at stories like the burning bush,
Yeah.
where his life changes based off of the plant,
Right.
and then it makes you think like cannabis is a godly tool. You already have to have a certain spirit in you that controls how you feel with cannabis. Like some people are like, oh, cannabis makes me angry. You are already angry. Cannabis makes me sad. You are already sad.
Right.
You are not open to what the plant is able to do and to help you because you are already closed-minded.
Right. And entheogenics do those things as well. Learning about those is along the way in conjunction with cannabis. The ability for me, which I don't eat a lot of mushrooms, to be honest. I don't need to, but sometimes I will. I'll microdose. I like to microdose maybe 2-3 days, take a day off, do it 3 more days, and then give that like a week.
So when you say microdose, for somebody that is a casual user of mushrooms, what would you consider what amount would you consider microdosing?
Really subjectable, right? So everybody's got kind of like cannabis. It's how your body's going to metabolize it, at what levels. And for me, I always tell people to start off at around, 0.3.
Right.
Something small.
Okay.
And give that a little bit, and even give it a few days. Because sometimes with the microdosing, it's not something that you're going to even feel, you're going to see or notice, but it's going to be on you. So the way that I explain that is like I've used this analogy before, but driving in traffic, somebody cuts me off, my normal reaction is aggressive, flip you off, hit the horn, upset myself,
right?
Because of what you did, and with a microdose, even though I'm not high or anything like that, I can almost sit back and be like, hit the brakes and be like, you know what, that guy's maybe having a bad morning. I can just look at it from a different perspective, kind of not an out of body experience, but just a perspective.
From your conscious of what
a conscious perspective.
Yeah.
And it helps me make better choices too, even in communication with people. With microdosing, sometimes you can have those interactions, and like I said, after maybe a week or so of microdosing, you kind of analyze all that. You don't take any mushrooms, you kind of analyzing what you took in. And so I've noticed, like, fuck, I didn't know I was so offensive to somebody. I didn't mean to be. That wasn't my intention.
Right.
But I see that I was.
Right.
So now in my next engagement with a similar thing, I can be more conscious to that particular. And I think that's another great way to communicate with one another. We have to be malleable. Yeah. What Bruce Lee said, you got to be water, right? So you really do with everything.
Your mind and your body have to be on the same playing field.
Yeah. And be fluent into other things, other people's thought processes and stuff like that we get caught up a little bit sometimes in our own thoughts and our own perspective.
And then we reel ourselves back in.
Yeah. And then I feel like a dick, like, oh man, I didn't even know, I didn't see that perspective.
Right.
And that's a bad perspective. I see why maybe me looking at it this way isn't necessarily right.
The right way. Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I want to take a step back. Where does your origin story start with activism? Like, weed is one thing, but I look at you more as a activist. Like, you are an activist first, and that could be just about anything. It can be for, social reform, laws, like, because with cannabis, we've come a long way with, laws and the bills being passed by you guys. Like, not lawmakers didn't pass cannabis, you guys did. So where did your origin story of activism start that led you to where you are now?
Well, I guess I can't think of the year because I don't ever pay attention to accomplishments, so to speak. I'm always on a busy schedule that is perpetually forward. I figure I can look back later. So the origin of the exact time, I guess it would be 2021 maybe. But I went to the first rally that Ryan Bringold, Amy Carter, Latricia Matson put on at the Capitol.
Shout out to them.
And Rick Thompson introduced me to Ryan Bringold, and Ryan introduced me to Amy Carter and Latricia, and that's where the Weedsters started.
Okay.
So that's really where it started for me. But what I noticed, and I was so inspired by, was Rick Thompson's ability to speak to the crowds and actually have them truly listen.
Right.
So whether it was, hey, get out there and contact your local municipalities or your local state representatives, that was actually being heard when he spoke it. And that was, I felt like somebody from Southwest Michigan, maybe I could engage in that same manner for some of the people that can't go on a Tuesday to bark at the government. You know, that's not an easy task to begin with.
Not
but
at all.
In the cannabis space, in the caregiver space, we've been allotted that ability to have that entrepreneurship style time frame of scheduling.
Right.
So yeah, I can be an activist. I can go to the state capitol. I can go to these committee meetings, and still do my work.
Right.
It's gotten them a lot harder now.
Right.
But that ain't gonna stop shit.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the difficulties that you find with being an activist and specifically with cannabis?
Well, of course, it's the stigma, and it's the breaking down other people's walls.
Right.
So maybe a House representative with a particular point of view or previous experience, mayor, or a town rep, town treasurer. It can be all kinds of things.
Right.
And they're all playing roles in our lives as they sign documents, clerk, or pass people's licenses or approve things in municipalities, right? And if they're doing it from in a biased mindset of what you are or what you do or the way you smell or because you're a medical patient or whatever, is wrong. That's the very oppression that we're in propaganda that we're trying to bend backwards.
Right.
So yeah, again, that's why I'm loud and I'm happy to wear Mendo Dope loud ass, jacket and smell loud.
Yeah.
And if you have a question, we should talk about cannabis. You know?
For sure.
And sometimes you get that. You'll have people that are off put by the smell, but at the same time they sit there and maybe smoke a cigarette or
That's even worse.
Right? So we have to be conscious of what we throw rocks at too, right?
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, and a lot of it, I guess, challenge-wise though, is holding those people accountable enough to take the step back in themselves to listen. Mm-hmm. And in the House and in the Senate, we're slowly. Michigan Weedsters has such an amazing team of people, and how they speak to the plant and what we're doing in the caregiver program and small business in Michigan. These legislators are listening.
Yeah.
We're just going to be there more.
Right.
Last few years, haven't been up there nearly as much, but we're going to start utilizing our lobbying power.
Right. Because those are the same principles that made cannabis legal here, recreational here in Michigan.
Yeah, and again, I say lobbying. I don't like to say that we're a lobbying group, right? We're not. We are of the people. Mm-hmm. But in this space, there's a game you got to play, right? So we had to get the 50. We didn't have to, but we chose, and Amy worked very hard to get the 501c4 that it qualifies us to actually lobby to the government. So we're a valid entity there, and then you register and all those things, right? But that, in their eyes, right, validates it. So at the very least, kind of got to do that. But no, we're not a lobbying group. We don't take in money to make deals or to go golfing. I think we speak to the real shit.
Yeah, but I also think that lobbying has a bad misconception about it itself as well. Lobbying is just basically garnering and curating public interest.
Yeah.
Real politics make it a negative way because they hey, give me $100,000, you can talk to whoever.
Sure.
You guys are doing it and curating for the public. So you guys are lobbying, but you are lobbying for the people,
right?
For the common interest.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, and absolutely, and it's a grassroots movement, and it's hopefully seen that way. And I appreciate that you say that, because it matters in that sense, and we express it to the legislators as well. It's like, look, yeah, I know you get people coming in here with their fancy cups and having you gifts and talking you up and saying, let's go chat about this, that, and the other. And that's fine. But we ain't got it like that. We're coming from our heart.
Right.
We're coming from the little girl that uses cannabis that saved her life from pharmaceutical drugs, the elderly that passed in a way that their family could speak to them in a coherent manner and laugh and giggle in the final hours of their lives, versus the coma-induced state of a pharmaceutical.
Right.
And yeah, sure, cannabis has done wonderful things in putting cancers in remission.
Right.
But I've also been in that situation where you're holding the hand of somebody for the last moment. And a lot of people don't get that either. Like the caregiver thing and all that, they minimize what some of us really took it to.
Right.
I took it to like, oh, this is my opportunity to be a pharmacist, a doctor, a botanist, a scientist, all these things. And I did all those processes to try and achieve the best outcome for each one of my patients.
Right.
And seemingly through trials, just like anything else, you find that way, especially with this plant. It's so versatile.
Yeah, for sure. So just to go back to what you said, like as far as like with lawmakers and going to Lansing, do you think it's more of a personal bias thing, or do you feel like it's some type of political corruption that make people not as quickly as progressive to cannabis versus in other places where, like Colorado, where there seems to be more of a open space for that?
Yeah, I would say here in Michigan particularly that we do have Pfizer and some of these Modernas and some of these companies that are never been pro-cannabis, right? So I would say that their interests and their influences and their abilities have definitely slowed down our progress, right? As all of the laws have come unfolded, but now they're here, and it seems like federally even that the medical side wants to come to some kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, so it makes it difficult because I think there's this two answers to that. That yes, there's influences to the lawmakers and special interests, and then there's also personal interests. Because I've been to some of these town meetings across the state, and it breaks my heart to have a really nice little old lady from church stand up in one of those meetings that you could probably have a great relationship with, but she's against cannabis so much because it killed her little Joey or her little Timmy, right? When he was 36, he smoked too much weed and he died, and they stand up and speak to this.
Right.
But what she, going deeper into that story or whatever, somebody's story like that, I usually look, and it was actually a heroin thing, or it was actually a cocaine overdose, and it had nothing to do with the cannabis found in his home or his place or his person.
Right.
If anything, that cannabis was on the in-between of that rugged addiction that he was in.
Right.
And it was the calming point of the in-between. I've seen that 1,000 times with crack people.
Right.
People on crack, they're gone at nighttime, gone all damn night.
Right.
And then during the day, they're trying to smoke your weed, like to feel better.
Right.
And usually a compassionate person would be like, all right, you can smoke some damn weed.
Yeah.
Don't go back to crack, though.
Right.
Just stay here, homie.
Yeah.
Like,
Just say no.
she's fine right here.
Right.
Go to sleep.
Yeah.
But I have seen that. And I've always wondered, like, why the association? Well, she's always there because she's trying to help every fucking body.
Right.
And then, of course, the law or anybody else, they're bundling her up with everybody.
Right.
Oh, it's just like fentanyl, it's just like heroin, just like this. Because it's always there.
Right.
No, it's there to help amongst all that shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
for sure.
Again, like Jesus, it's like it's there to, amongst the bullshit, to help it.
To rectify everything.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Michigan Weedsters. I became aware of you guys maybe about like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Can you talk about like what exactly, for the audience, what exactly you guys do, and then what does the future look like for cannabis? Because just to note, like, lawmakers didn't pass cannabis to be recreational. These guys did. It was It's a voter initiative.
The state of Michigan, yeah. And there was a lot of people that don't get recognized and that have even passed that have helped us get there. And I think that's what amongst our community that we're always really good about, which we always should be, trickling that recognition down, because it's just been a perpetual generational thing from the hippies to every culture of pushing this fight. And it was in the dark for the 80s and the 90s because everybody just didn't want that life, didn't want no getting caught up with nothing, you know. Either quit doing weed or you did it quietly, you know. And now we're at a space that we're coming into generations that's never known it otherwise than legal, and we have to always recognize everybody that did the hard work. But Michigan Weedsters right now, currently, we're going to continue doing lobby days. We have a young House representatives group of representatives, and we need to educate them. Continue to go there and tell them about our current medical program, our caregiver program, our licensed situation that has minimized the Michigan citizen that, like you said, voted to have the opportunity and didn't really get it. So we're trying to rectify that, and whether it's through legislation or pure grit, I think collectively we can all come together and do that. But we got to do it in those big numbers like we did before. And I almost feel like the recreational was almost a tactic, because the biggest strength we had was medical. These lawmakers couldn't deny these people having their lives saved and standing up and telling them, giving them documentation of all these things and all these proofs. That's why it got to that point. And then once Rec got there, I feel like that will really minimize the medical talk. And it did. It came out, and it's recreational, and we have everybody's face on everything, and it's some kind of fashion show and everything else, right? But in her essence, she's not that. She's in recreational, again, just a silly word, because every time you smoke one, you're healing yourself. You're bringing yourself closer to your own self or your own God, or you're healing something within your body that is
your temple.
A pain. Yeah, you're working with your chakras. You can meditate with it. It's, I believe there's a reason why mushrooms and cannabis and probably peyotes and all those things were held by medicine men. It was a small group of people in the village or in the villages that had those kind of powers and abilities to put people in the right place. Now it's everybody's, and let's face it, we're pretty irresponsible sometimes. But at the same time, you can smoke it until your nose falls off, and it'll never hurt you. So why the regulation? Why the tyranny? Why the cops over my shoulder?
I believe they know the healing power. Like it's been such a stigma about it in different communities that I feel like when you can't control something per se, you try to put a blanket over it to seem like it's some type of control or some type of intimidation. Because even before it was not legal, I'm pretty sure that people who were growing legally still were met with illegal practices. Well, kind of like what I was talking about with Heidi about.
Yeah, and it goes back to our federal government. They created the DARE program. Thanks, Nancy. Horrible thing that atrocitized this plant and put tons of innocent people away from their families, split their families up, in some cases kicked doors down, shot their dogs, everything. Horrible atrocities. And there's people in prison currently right now while we're all these different people are out there making money. And those things still need to be addressed. And I feel like there needs to be retribution. It sounds crazy, but my picture perfect idea is every corrupt county or sheriff or prosecutor or judge, we dig and we find that corruption. The people that they ostracized should get their pensions. They shouldn't be sitting home all retired now.
Right.
Or possibly even owning a cannabis transport company.
Exactly.
or cannabis laboratory, or maybe even being the director of the CRA. Maybe that's not the best, and that's my personal opinion. But I don't think that that fits the bill.
Yeah.
For everything that's been done.
Right.
So if all of those guys' pensions go away and they go to the people that they oppressed and for their opportunity, my idea is sue the state, $4 billion. Everybody that didn't get a license because Rick Johnson's bitch ass didn't give them one, get some money.
Yeah.
I think that's a really fair idea.
How can we implement something like that to help the people
class action suit? We got to get on board, and it's not hard to prove how misgoverned this law that the people put has been. I mean, there's just a laundry list. I could never sit here and tell you how many things that has gone wrong, but everybody else can, because it's happening to everybody.
Right.
The only thing you're starting to see is major corporations owning these things. And when it first came in, one of the things that really pissed me off, and there's nothing you could do about it, is all our caregivers, all our people that had the creation, that created the gummies, that worked so hard to understand how to make BHO, all these damn things. They all got hired up right away by these corporate companies, kept around for 6 months, and then shit canned. And then those SOPs suddenly were part of that fucking company's business, and they're hiring people for a fraction of the wage to fulfill those SOPs. That's trash. That's not what I voted for. And I watched it happen not to one company, but I've seen a bunch of companies do that shit. And they were all out-of-state people. So
this is one of the biggest topics on our podcast, because for a while, I'm not going to lie to you, when I first started the podcast, I knew about, we called them growers, but we did not know caregivers. Even now, I can't tell you a caregiver in my county because of how commercialized dispensaries are and how available they are. It took until I met a few people, different people within the caregiver market, to understand that some of these larger corporations are just completely wiping out caregivers. Like people will call them mom and pops or different ways. So when did you start to see that corporate interests taking a hold of Michigan as far as like cannabis?
Before the law passed, how's that? So in the writings of it, one of the problems that I had, and I wasn't influential enough, I suppose, at the time for a voice to matter, but my opinion was that the fact that somehow at the table we wound up having to concede or needing to concede to a 2-year moratorium on allowing anybody from out of state to come into the state as a business was I saw that as a setup, right? So 2 years. So, and it surely was. 18 months later was the first license. So from when we passed it, 18 months later was when the first license came online in the state of Michigan, and they gave 24 months of people that could not come into the state of Michigan. So what's that really leave? And then let me add this. At that time, the only way you could get a recreational license was to have a medical grow first. So all these people coming out of state come in and bought this big medical grow license, and they had to have that first before they could get the rec, right? And that was a money grab, because if you look at it now, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can apply for one. You don't have to have $444,000 worth of equity, and you don't have to have done business tax returns for 10 years and all of the bullshit. But that happened for the first 6 months, first year, or whatever. So again, this whole law, oppressive, it's bullshit. I feel like we rip it up and piss on it. I love all the work that everybody put on it, but let's just start back, right? So And we don't need all the petitions and shit. Let's just bring it back to like, yeah, we passed it, and now let's start again.
Right.
Come to a better. We don't need a CRA that is run by the police, and we don't need this division of the state police to come back and criminalize our citizens.
Right.
When whatever that department cost, it could be going to the shortage of manpower they have for the 10,000 rape kits in the state. I think they could do a lot of fucking other things.
Yeah, for sure. I got a question for you. I want to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I've asked this same question to a few people, and they politely don't answer. So if you politely don't answer, I understand. I'll ask another question. A lot of people talk about the corporations that came and did these different things to get preference for license. Who are these corporations?
Oh, that's fun. No, I'd give no fuck. Skymint was one. So there was early on there's a list, kind of a boycott situation that Bergen Roach and the Medical Mondays podcast had put out, and that did a lot of work. You know, during the House bills, it got a lot of people to continue to see the things that were happening, and like I said, I think it did a lot. But at any rate, there's quite a few of them. Skymint was one of them. Common Citizen is another one. I mean, really, anybody that goes against the idea of medical, and there's a lot of them out there. So for me, again, by letting the outside element in, what you really let in was the people that didn't understand why we all worked so hard, because of the medical value. So
right.
What I had the third micro business in the state of Michigan, down in Hartford, Michigan, and it failed. But the motto was, my caregiver motto, coming to a metric situation in a micro grow with top tier, far superior cannabis grown, more intent, more medicinal values, more things, done with it for a price that was below most of your metric stuff.
Right.
That was the idea. It didn't come to that. My investors that I had were from Wisconsin, and both of them were lawyers. So, as you can imagine, the whole thing went to poo.
Yeah.
So that was, a swing into metric. What I'm finding right now is for caregivers and good brands that have quality products that they've worked really hard on. Sorry. If you get through a processor, if you can find a processor, Big Cloud currently is working with some processors, and by doing that, bringing in your products into metric. So,
right.
Caregivers that have a particular honey or a solve or what have you, they can find another way in without having that licensor. Right. But then it makes me throw my hands up at all these laws from California across the states. You go over to New York and you can see Jeter and fucking Stizzy and everybody in every goddamn bodega. And there's not a problem. And then, CRA is only regulating and the state police are only regulating what's happening in the state. None of it makes sense.
Right.
And then as a citizen of the state, I can, it's a good one. I can grow 12 plants, which the first year I did that was like 36 pounds, and I made it all into RSO, liters and liters of RSO, and I gave it all fucking away to show, like you could do that.
Right.
People could do that if you get an opportunity. But anyway, 36 pounds of cannabis isn't something that you can have as a citizen of the citizen of state of Michigan, right? You can only have 10 ounces in your house. You can have 2.5 on your person at any time, and then you can have 10 ounces locked up in your house. If you have any more than that, then you're outside of the color law there, right, of what they want. And I believe the first thing is a $500 fine.
Right.
It's a misdemeanor. It's a $500 fine, or any amount. Could be a billion fucking pounds, whatever. Right? How does that make sense?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Right? So,
as long as you're not harming anybody, you should be able to grow as much as you want to.
Right. And again, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. You get 12 plants, and I don't know if everybody's growing them in these solo cups. Maybe you won't have your 10 ounces. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we can get to it, but again, it's going to really take Michigan Weedsters. It's going to take local citizens. It's going to take other groups to just come together and educate this class of legislation that is going to be making choices.
So what is your thought on the current state of cannabis in Michigan, and more so the state, but also like the metric system and the things they have in place that you guys are trying to work to get back in your favor?
Sure. I think the metric system's a fraud to begin with. The whole entire thing's a joke. The over-regulation, the over-everything on it, the way I see it now lately, especially being here in the church, from the 60s to all the way to the 2000s before it started getting voted into law places, medically and such, not one of those protesters, if you can find them anywhere, any clip, please tell me, because I don't think there was anybody with their fist in the air screaming, we want regulation, we want regulation. I'm pretty sure you won't hear that. But what you may hear is free the plant.
Right.
Richard Clement here in Detroit, free the weed. You'll hear, give us back our plant. Nobody was barking for regulation and taxation. Jack Herrera, Eddie Lepp, all the old heads, even Ed Rosenthal. I don't think that the big hype there was we want to be regulated and overseen with this. We want it freed because it's a plant. Right. Leave it the fuck alone. Leave us the fuck alone.
Right.
If we're healing people with it and people are getting away from pharmaceuticals, quit having a fucking agenda and oppressing us with the law and legislation. Go fuck yourself. It's kind of, that's where I feel about it. Right. That's where I'm at with it. I'm pissed off about it because something has to give. It's clearly not working.
Right.
Again, I revert back to a lawsuit civilly. The opportunities for licensure was an illusion given by the state, in my opinion. The way to reach it was almost unattainable for even the most talented people. Right. And then those people wound up trying to work with companies that stole their products and ideas, SOPs and such, and then shit canned them. Right. I mean, it don't get any more deeper. Right. And I got people across the state that can attest to
And I've heard those same stories as well.
Yeah, they absolutely are like, that was my shit. Oh, what happened? Oh, they took it.
Yeah, they used you and they manipulated it
and moved you along.
Moving along, yeah,
absolutely terrible. And I think as a community, we don't operate that way. Big Cloud Farms, we've had, I don't even know, 30 different events across the world, from Spain with Organic Cup to New York to Jones, Michigan. We want to do one here in Detroit. All the golf events that I do, the cannabis things. Hashbash. Do you ever hear anybody getting in a brawl?
No.
Right? I mean, how many people? Thousands of people come to Hashbash. Adam Brook puts that son of a bitch on every year, Hashbash Cup, and nobody's in a fight at this hotel. 2 hotels rented out. Yep. City knows about it. Prosecutor knows about it. The sheriff knows about it.
Other bullshit, but not that bullshit.
Yeah, but they speak to, they go to the Diag and speak on the protest and promote that, they're about it. And that doesn't happen anywhere, I don't think, in the world. Definitely not in the country. Right. Ann Arbor's a special place since 1972. Rest in peace, John Sinclair, for sure.
Yeah, rest in peace to him.
Because that created all that.
All right. For sure.
But yeah, we're in a unique place of still having an opportunity to have control of it. Because again, the regulatory committees that oversee our laws are just rules and procedures.
Right.
they're not the law. They're interpretations of, and they're
Right.
creating statutes
Because it's
to
not
it.
concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this again, the CRA being ran by a former cop. What's his agenda? And he doesn't like to talk to caregiver issues. There's another public meeting, I think in May. I think I posted it.
Okay.
I'll repost it.
I'll pull it up on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go speak to that. I encourage everybody that has a situation or whatever to go to those CRA meetings, right?
Right.
You know, like if you didn't get a license or the pathway to even the equity system, the equity social equity thing isn't good, we need to speak up to it.
Right.
Almost all these social equity programs in the states have been trash as far as how they unleashed themselves. I had one for my dispenser or the micro grow, but it was just a discounted rate for your license. So the fact that I was incarcerated or arrested or belittled in the community or talked down on by a judge or, you know, spoke about in rumors, all those things that happen to people, the retribution that the state gave for social equity was a discount on your fucking license that you're going to pay taxes to?
Yeah,
Kiss
that's
my
ridiculous.
ass.
Ridiculous. No, that's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It's not even fair.
ridiculous. It's not even funny.
Not even fair.
No, right.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, we have. I can remember many cases of listening to a judge tell a man that he was a bad father and that he should be away from his children because he engages in this plan. And then that, you know, of course, how many times has that happened where a young child is growing up thinking, man, my dad is a bad guy or my mom is a bad person, falsely due to that kind of oppressive activity of the incarceration or the probate or whatever that everybody had to go through.
Right.
Here's $500 off your license. Fuck you.
Yeah. It's not even worth it at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, I want real retribution.
Yeah.
Serve real opportunity. Tell me another $3 billion industry that doesn't have a grant program. If I wanted to go cut some trees down in the UP and buy some land,
You should
I
be
could
able to
get
get
a
a grant
matched
for that.
grant for that.
Yeah. Or
something.
finance from banks.
Sure.
Or
Right.
ATM or like be able to use, you know,
Right.
these same things that other,
Yeah.
you know,
And
businesses
we revert
use.
back to a lot of them falling into the state that, well, it's not federally released. I don't know exactly the year, but the UN, couple years, it was in Biden's term, had they either decriminalized it or took it off the scheduling. One of the two.
I think
Cannabis is
they
off.
lowered the scheduling.
Yeah.
So it's not like this game schedule is like Motrin or
Yeah, so it lowered it,
Lowered it,
in,
yeah.
in there somewhere. So
which isn't necessarily positive,
right.
but it's
I think a 5. There's a lot of people that have talked about a 5, and it's its own category. It's specific to that. I think that's reasonable.
yeah.
Makes more sense, right?
Right.
Because the let it go idea, completely, I can see the pros and cons and the situationals. But again, I mean, even in Michigan, when we revert back, a lot of people will say, well, what about the children and this and that? If I had a thing of gummies on the table and a thing of Xanax on the table, I'd pray to God that my child got them gummies.
Right.
Right? If he's going to be an asshole and open something, right?
Right.
And if I'm even an irresponsible parent and have it in his place that he can get it. But let's be real, a lot of people are really irresponsible with those prescription drugs.
Yeah, for sure.
And kids you don't hear a lot of it.
But
You
it's
know,
all
'cause the
about
kids are
education as
taught-
well, though.
Yeah, how you're taught. And
Yeah.
and I've always taught my kids that this is medicine and they know it does that.
Yeah.
And they see it as that. It's not that big of a thing to them.
Right.
You know, it's not. But whereas again, as my kid, or when I was a kid, I was taboo as shit. Like, I don't even want to hear that you like that.
Right.
Like, don't even talk about that at all. You know. And
I kind of want to put you on the spot again.
yeah.
I feel like with the caregivers, I come across a different lot. I come across a lot of different caregivers. They're usually like in West Michigan, like kind of where you're from, or different places. Like, what type of education or what can we do to bring caregivers and the market to places where it's not as prevalent, like Detroit. I've been living in Detroit for a long time. I've been studying and doing different things, and I don't know any caregivers in the Wayne County. I don't know how to become one myself.
Sure.
So like, what education can we use to help be a part of the movement, and what type of marketing can we kind of use? Because with dispensaries and Metric, they use ads and different marketing to kind of like forcefully like be in our subconscious.
Sure.
So what can we do to make the caregivers market better?
Sure. Well, there's a few different ways. Learning how to do some urban growing, coming back to some of the older things like Jack Herrera's book, Emperor Has No Clothes. It really breaks down a lot of things. There's a ton of books by Ed Rosenthal that just really give you the ability to get the understanding of what the first pieces of the dynamic puzzle are that you can grow, whether it's in a closet or in a small space, and have good success and have ability to grow a quality plant.
Right.
And those infos are out there. Like I said, those two people are great books to get. So many great growers diving into the old heads. Again, Eddie Lepp, all these people that have gone around the world picking up seeds, bringing them back to the States. Like, those are some of the things too that we got to always recognize. Like, these people did some hero shit.
Yeah.
Bringing Afghany in and bringing Panama in, and there's a gentleman named Tim McBride, and he's down in Florida, and he's known as the saltwater cowboy. And if you get a chance, check out his story.
Okay.
It's outstanding. I mean, hundreds of thousands of pounds coming in from the Caribbean into a small town in the Keys that it did so well. It helped them all live. It was their financial gain year round,
Right.
where they could
survive,
and
right? Plus,
yeah, and he said never violence. There's never violence because it was just weed.
Right.
Like, it wasn't.
And it was open to everyone.
Crazy thing. Yeah, it was just weed. So, but yeah, he eventually got caught. He's got a really wild and crazy story. He's a cool guy. But yeah, just all those things are part of this. Mm-hmm. And cannabis has kind of just been danced around. We're the ones that really control it, so to speak, and it's how we treat it that what we're going to get out of it. But being a caregiver in an urban area is achievable. Mm-hmm. Depends on your square footage, but there's a lot of tent grows that are successful. I still grow out of tents as well. I mean, you can do a lot of things. You can do pheno hunts. You can finish great product in tents.
Right.
They're good for those smaller areas. And then just learning organic methods is really nice. I'm starting to learn more and more about those. Having those inputs in the soil, having a live working old forest-like situation in a bed versus individual pots and things. Those all really good for the plant and good for the medicine because you're showing more and more intent.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely achievable. It's doable. What I would suggest is getting a medical card.
Okay.
You can do that easily on the phone or online with Essential Telehealth.
Okay.
They're great. It's easy. Doctors usually available most all the time. Mm-hmm. And when you get a card now, I guess they've changed it where you don't have to specifically find a caregiver. You can be your own caregiver. So you can just ask for the caregiver card, and that will allow you to stack patients on your card, mm-hmm. and that would give you more plants each time. So depending on your space, you could have 12 plants or you could have 72 plants.
Got you.
Yeah.
So do you feel like with Michigan Weedsters that maybe you guys can offer education on people who want to be inspiring caregivers and
absolutely
more so
yes.
here in Detroit?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely here in Detroit, the UP, anywhere in Michigan. And we just come to MichiganWeedsters.com, check out our Instagram and our Facebook, contact us in whatever fashion. The website has a link to become a member. Mm-hmm. It's $4.20 a year.
Okay.
Right? So it's an easy spend. And again, we're not lobbying money to take people out to golf, where we need money to come across the state and talk to these lawmakers. It costs us, I don't remember exactly what the lawmaker thing was, but we had to raise the money to do it, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like Josie with the Great Lakes expungement. That girl's raising money left and right. Last two events was like 67,000. Another one was 80,000. And that's just to expunge records. It cost her that damn much to, and I was like the fourth person expunged in the state of Michigan by her.
Congratulations.
As well. And with my career choice, I guess it's not that relevant, but
Yeah.
you know, it is in the sense of getting a bank loan, getting credit cards, all those things.
Or
with
just
a
simply
small
vindication.
conviction. Yeah, self-vindication. But even just being a part of society, it flags you when you have some kind of weed charge on you.
Right.
You know, even a job. Like, oh, well, I see a schedule on this, and they always write it so damn weird in different things. I've seen my shit come up where it was like position of Schedule 1, blah, 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 or this, that, or, you know, something sounds gnarly,
Yeah.
right? But it was just some damn weed.
Right.
That was just some weed, man. You
Or-
caught me with some weed, a half ounce of fucking weed.
Or let's just take it a step further. The people who do work in these dispensaries or higher up position these dispensaries, let's just say like you are the officer of finances. Once you have that on your resume and you try to get a actual bank,
Yeah.
they won't hire you because it is related to cannabis.
Right.
So it's like on
Yeah.
different levels of.
Well, and that's another thing I have a bitch with. Michigan Weedsters will bitch to the legislation as well. What? Okay, so after they've stolen all the IP and the hard work of everybody and fired them, and then hired them back and gave them regular jobs for trimming jobs and shit. Now, if you work in the cannabis space as a bud tender or something, you can't get housing. You can't get federal housing.
Really?
Yeah, I just recently there's a lady that's came to me and told me that her federal housing won't allow it to happen because of her job. That's it's beyond.
That's ridiculous.
It's beyond. If anything, I think I said $3 billion industry. I could be wrong now. It may be more.
Yeah, definitely.
Some odd couple hundred, $400 million worth of tax revenue. We can't create something that helps, right? You know,
Yeah.
and creates a space for betterment for the people that put it here. Yeah, we can. They're just not.
Right.
They're not doing that. So, but together, louder, more Michigan Weedsters collectively, more Big Cloud patrons coming to the festivals. Everything, all of that is activism.
Speak about Big Cloud.
Even that. Yeah. So Big Cloud, also 4 or 5 years running, many festivals. We like to hold camping events, music festivals. I think that's where the essence of the movement really started. For me, it was Rainbow Farm back in the day.
Yeah.
That was the most epic thing. I was 17, 18 years old. I could run away from my small little town and go to another small little town out in the field,
Right.
and be. Once I got in there after all the damn cops and all the shit that was always around that, you knew you were good for the weekend.
Right.
You know, if it was roach roast, it was fucking hemp aid, whatever it was. It was like, I'm solid for the weekend. And it was freedom, like, you know, real freedom. And you can never forget those kind of things. So trying to recreate that with Big Cloud, I feel like we did in many ways, have had a lot of people say they've had those epic moments and experiences with Cottonmouth Kings or Bone Thugs or whoever, right? It's just been a moment. And not even sometimes the music, even the camaraderie and the education and the learning. So it brings a lot of all those aspects, and then having fun while you do it, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to have fun because this plant is fun too. It's yin and yang. Where's that little balanced dot gonna be?
Yeah.
You know, is it gonna waver and waller you, or are you gonna keep on line? And really, in this society now, we kind of waver and waller more than we keep that sumbitch lined up.
Yeah.
And that's in politics too.
Right.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research but I want to hear from your perspective. What are some of the common misconceptions about people getting their medical card?
Well, I don't know, like misconceptions, but one thing, it gives you a different thing than just the citizen law, in the sense that it's medicinal, not because some quack doctor gave you a license to smoke marijuana, like
Right.
some people like to say.
Right.
It's these qualifying conditions are on the list because they're qualifying conditions. There's over 200 minor patients in the state of Michigan, and Amy Carter helped get the autism, and there's a whole bunch of qualifying conditions now for minor patients that allow them to do that versus allow their parents to have a choice to make a different choice versus than the pharmaceutical only option.
Right.
And it's helped. I mean, I just saying that number, yeah, we got 10 million people in this state, but 200 kids that rely on this, think about that. So everything else really kind of even ostracize them in a lot of ways, because when health departments put out things, Barian County, I'll shit on them right now. Barian County Health Department, trash. Please go to Dirt on Weed and shit all over that thing. It is a campaign that was given by grant money. They went out for it. They were a county that opted into the recreational, and therefore they were available for $40,000 or $60,000 to educate the public on the new cannabis laws.
Right.
What they chose to do is create a campaign called the Dirt on Weed, and the entirety of it all is how safe you must keep your children away from your marijuana, and you should probably take a break once in a while and love your kids, and all these very, very propaganda trashy things. I think it's a trash campaign and a waste of money. When what they should have, and when you ask them, well, what about the medical program? What about the licensed medical program in the state of Michigan Health Department? Not a word. I can't speak to every health department in the state. I don't know if there's any of them that speaks to the medical program,
Right.
but it's valid. It's a law. We put it there to be utilized. The health department has a responsibility to educate the public properly. And I'm demanding all of them to get right with it because I'm coming for them.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be heard. So, yeah, that's one thing that's one little thing I'm looking forward to hoping.
One of the things that I learned
through.
from a caregiver from Instagram is I was speaking about cannabis in like urban communities, and I was saying a lot of people don't get their medical card because we've always been told you can't have weed and you can't have a firearm as well.
Right.
And I was told that that's not true.
Correct.
So could you speak more to that?
Yeah, directly and exactly. No, I can't cite all the things, but there, to my knowledge, there's been some Supreme Court rulings that say, yes, under the HIPAA laws and stuff, those are not going to apply to have those two things together.
Right.
I myself was always completely defiant of it.
Right.
Even with the medical caregiver law, never had weapons in my grow per se, but yeah, I never denounced my Second Amendment.
Right.
Like I live out in the country, so I hunt, I fish, I skeet, shoot, I protect my house,
Right.
all those things, and I will do so,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Right.
So that said, there is some validated case law and Supreme Court rulings on, or at least speakings to on that, and I have not seen a strong issue with that.
Right.
I was actually thinking about, I'm a caregiver, I was actually thinking about going to apply for a pistol just to see.
Just to see, yeah.
Just to see, like, see what happens. If I'm
Right.
denied or how it goes through. If
Right.
it does or doesn't. So.
Can medical cards be tracked or located by employers?
Huh?
Like, can people with a medical card, can they be identified by employers? Or
Okay, here's
or
another issue that I'm
denied
fighting
employment.
for right now that I feel like is an issue. My first medical marijuana card came from LARA, which is a state licensed agency that provides cards for most of the medical space,
Right.
And it's protected under HIPAA, and
Okay.
it's in a safe place. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
Since then, the regulatory agency now administers the cards and holds the, I don't know, over our caregiver law. So the with that, when you speak to them and ask them about caregiver things, they say there's nothing they're really speaking to that they do or are going to do or
Right.
anything.
Okay.
So that being said, I feel like the medical card needs to go back to Lara because if it's in the regulatory space, what I've been told is, well, anything that's outside of our regulatory abilities in the license, we divert over to the state police.
Okay.
So if they know what everybody's medical card, then are they not doing that? And if they are, that is unconstitutional.
And
It's unjust.
Yeah.
It's criminal.
And it needs
and
to
I want
change.
retribution.
Right.
And again, I still have my Lara card.
Okay.
So why is it regulatory agency now? Why is it delivered by them when this is still a medical? If I have 5 patients, why do they get to know, or do they? I don't know.
Right.
I'm assuming maybe they have. With them saying that they pass it over to this new task force of the state police, I would have to assume that they have the ability to look at those things.
Right.
But I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
So, but another thing that chaps my ass is I'm very transparent. So I've spoken. I've had a sting operation on one of my festivals by the state police after being transparent. I have the FOIA for it. Eventually, I'm going to try and do something with it. But they're not transparent. I want to talk to the highest at the state police, whoever the hell that is, captain, chief, lieutenant,
something.
whoever the
Yeah.
fuck it is, whatever
Right.
hat you're wearing. I want to have a community conversation about this, because what is better for us all is that I don't worry about if I smell like cannabis or not when I come to you for the emergency I need you for the job that you're here to do.
Right.
Somebody's choking over here. Around the corner, bro. Somebody's being hurt. Well, you smell like marijuana. I'm going to check you out first.
Yeah.
And it's happened 1,000 times in the hood.
Right.
And everywhere else, small town too.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, I'm focused here now.
We all share
and-
the same
Yeah.
issues.
And in the state of Michigan, it's no longer a smell alone.
Yeah, and
can't.
that was my next. That was
Yeah,
my
they
next
can't
thing.
do
Like,
that.
how do you
Right.
feel about Michigan being that progressive to where now
Yeah,
you can't
that's
be?
good.
Yeah.
It should be that way, right? Because why give, if you do have a tyrant officer out there somewhere, which I believe there's many, if they're intent, why give them the tools to continue that tyranny,
Right.
especially on something like this? I used to, back in the day, I would always carry lock boxes in safes.
Yeah.
So like, okay, yeah, I guess like check the vehicle. Oh, what's in the box? What's in the lockbox? I don't know, but I
don't
do
know.
know that you have to get a judge to sign a warrant
A
for
warrant,
every
yeah.
one of them motherfuckers. So why don't you? And they get mad, or they used to get mad about it.
Yeah, of course. Because then now they don't have the control of the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course now it's it's pretty good. There's a lot of things that people are doing to protect themselves under the hemp laws, getting hemp licenses, transport licenses. I think the processing license is a really good one to get. People that want to get into that space, processing license is basically like the Godfather license. It's the gangster one, right? So
Yeah.
you get to pick amongst all the growers in Metric who you want to work with, or how much of their products that you can process and move through,
Right.
and all the dispensaries and other brands and things like that. So it's a really versatile situation versus just a grow license where you here to grow, produce,
Right.
or a dispensary, you're here to get that out the door.
Right. Yeah.
So, but again, I think they're all kind of shit. The whole law can go up in flames from my perspective, and we can restart at a place where everybody gets a real opportunity, no matter who you are. No matter I don't know how many quote unquote nobodies, right, myself included, that just have great ideas, have great products, have done great things. They're
Right.
not getting any opportunity. Man, that ain't right.
It's not right at all.
No.
Especially when you guys are the people who made it legal.
Yeah, yeah, and even that, just the protesting. Like, I mean, what Hashbash is 54 years this year it was.
Yeah.
And that's a protest against a man. I know a lot of people think it's a party. Yeah, the Hashbash Cup is,
Nah.
a good time,
Yeah,
but it's
that's-
also a protest.
Yeah, the Hashback Cup is like to casual people.
Yeah.
That is the premier part.
Yeah.
When in reality, if you get there early and you get parking,
Yeah.
I just gotta emphasize
I
that
know,
parking.
right? Yeah.
The speakers and you guys speaking and Amy Carter and everybody and even I can't think of his name right now, but he passed away.
Yeah, Rick Thompson,
yep.
Rory, there's
Yep.
many
St. Clair.
people. Yeah, John Sinclair.
Yep. Who are those people that get out there and speak and they are just profound in what they say and they're not just talking plant. They're giving you the reasons why we're here.
Yeah.
Like, you're not here, you have a good time.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Indulge.
Right.
But there's a bigger purpose
Yeah.
for this plant.
And we're all part of it. That's what's cool about it too. It's like
Yeah.
it's like this weird web that because we have this commonality between us all, it puts us all, makes us the same. No matter how many singular people rise in an activist situation or how many groups rise, we're all benefiting.
Right.
And if we stand in it together, like, hey, yeah, you know what? I used to hide this from grandma, but you know what? I'm tired of grandma's shit, and I'm going to talk to her.
Right.
Like, I'm going to talk to her. I mean, I'm not going to hide this anymore, and I want her to understand that I'm a good person and that people are good, and break that stigma. Because, again, one of the worst things that I used to deal with sometimes was that elder person that would hate me because of this one factor.
Right.
They're like, oh, you're bad because you got the weed and you smoke the marijuana and you do this. And
That's just propaganda.
yeah, well, but it was detrimental because I like to interact with people. I was like, fuck, I don't get to know you.
Right.
Like, I don't get to go to church with you. I don't get to talk to you. I don't, I get to lose all that. Whereas I also had an instance where I was smoking cannabis with a 99-year-old black lady from Alabama in Southwest Michigan. They had moved there. Their son was working with us roofing,
Okay.
and we came over and hung out, and she was making food and whatever. We got to the point where, like, you want to smoke some weed? And I'm like, there's no fucking way. Like, right? This is such an age gap, such a cultural gap. And it just instantly, like, common ground.
Right.
Like, cannabis is crazy like that. Like,
Yeah.
nothing matters. Like, it didn't matter there was damn near 80 years between us or 70 years between us. That smoking a joint together was able to give that 5 minutes of right here, you know? So, yeah, it's crazy. It's cool.
So if it was one or two things that can change right now, as far as cannabis in Michigan, what was those one or two things you would want to change?
First and foremost, I guess I would want caregivers right now immediately allowed into metric. So their products, their overages, all those things tested and whatever, put back into metric, at least temporarily right now, for a chance, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I say that, I feel like it's such a hodgepodgery of shit now already, that we just reset it, go back to, yay, it just passed,
Yeah.
and start there again. Or, well, not yay that it passed, because I guess you have to have it all written and set. Let's go back to the point of writing it. Let's get back to all the way back to the table, and go back through that and really let everybody's voice in it.
Right.
Not just the lead guys that were pushing the bill that wanted to get their name on the passing of the bill, and not just the small group of people that we did have from our community who was kind of also probably pressured by those other entities.
Right.
Like I said, kind of bend the knee here and we'll do this, or we're not going to pass it, or bend the knee here, or do this, and we're not going to pass it.
Give some other type of loophole.
Yeah. But I just don't. I think we can go looser than what it ever was. I believe in. I'm gonna say I believe in testing. We have a plant that again has been here 10,000 years and yet to have a documented death. So testing is good for understanding it and doing science work and making sure heavy metals and things in the soil don't
Or pesticide
show
or-
themselves in
yeah.
the plant. But beyond that, I don't know.
Legit testing is what
You
you're
know.
trying to say. Like,
Right.
I don't want to have to pay you 20, 30 grand and be like, hey, it's 20% when we're just really like
Right.
10%.
Yeah. And that Veris, I'll say it, company is owned by police, and they've been doing the labs for all of the evidence that would be coming into the state police for 30, 40 years, or however long that company's been in. But they've been doing testing things for the state police
Right.
for years. Again, tell me where the conflict of fucking interest is.
Right.
It sounds like there's a heavy one right there. Like, you can't have the mayor be your wife and you be the treasurer of the fucking city. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way, right?
Right.
And that's kind of how they just put this transport license. I see a lot of ex-officers owning one.
For sure.
And I see these testing labs being owned by ex-police people and the CRA running by
To play devil's advocate real quick, do you think that police can be reformed on cannabis? Like, do you honestly think that you could be an officer of the law, realize like, hey, I've been
Oh, absolutely.
learn to err on my ways?
There's tyranny and everything, and then there's truth. So, yes, some of them can be. Does any of them at the moment deserve any kind of opportunity set of? No, not a one.
Right.
Even the best of one, like the best cop, doesn't because of that blue line thing.
Yeah,
You guys want to be doing the gang shit, like
They play for
that's
the
too
sword.
much for me.
yeah, the shield.
Yeah. So until we come back to a community, back when, I was small town where that one cop knew everybody, got
Right.
along, he helped you
Yeah.
fix your tire on the side of the road,
Cops that are actually from your community.
drive you home because you're drunk and you made a mistake and
Yeah.
he's not going to do it again, but he did it that time. Those kind of things. We don't have any of that kind
Yeah.
of passion in our space. And I think a lot of them get hardened by,
Being in the forest,
yeah,
seeing people
Seen
as
a lot of things.
bad people. And
sure,
yeah,
they see a lot of bad things, and I can understand that. But they should be able to work with their PTSD, and guess what they could do?
Yeah.
They could eat mushrooms. Veterans are doing it, using it. They could use cannabis. Veterans are doing it and using
Yeah.
it. If our combat veterans can utilize it and see this benefit, then our working officers can, especially when they go to the dock and they just chuck them Xanax, Percocets, or
Yeah, at the
whatever,
bar.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's not helping them. And then they go drink on top of it when it says clearly don't drink.
Don't drink. Yeah,
And then they go to work the next day feeling like trash. I never feel like trash. I smoke weed and eat mushrooms all the fucking time.
and it's perfectly
I
fine.
don't got a hangover or body feel ill or nothing
Yeah.
like that, ever.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that in itself also is a kind of a thing. People abuse their body, and they stay in that circle. Once you get out of it with something like this, again, I can go days without. I don't even eat a lot of mushrooms, but I can go days or a week or what have you without smoking weed. Right?
Right.
Like it's not.
It's not addictive.
No, I'm not gonna bang my head or go on the wall or rob or go after anybody or do anything. No, am I gonna be irritable? Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've been using it for a long time.
Tolerance break.
It's gonna be hard to sleep.
Yeah.
All those things are gonna happen. Yeah, but those aren't necessarily like
Deal breakers.
chemical side effects or
Yeah.
anything like that, right? So it's not. What the fuck are those side effects? Sudden death. Shut the. What? That's
like
a
the
side
little
effect?
like the little commercials where they had the
Yeah.
people smiling and they tell you the
Yeah.
side effect. You might die. You might your liver
yeah, or
might
this may cause the very thing we're trying to,
prevent.
help.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
it may increase its,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
smoke some weed and see if that helps.
Any shout outs you want to give out?
Man, everybody. Everybody in Michigan that is continuing to stand up for the little people, the caregivers, against the corporate ideal. I think if we keep pushing, we can get this back in a place where Michiganders can be profitable, and it's not just a facade put on by or used in a campaign by a governor or a AG.
Right.
It's actually for us.
Yeah.
And I think we can get that back. And we're going to go through different leadership. We're going to go through the right side, the left side, all those things. Dana, for instance, recently I posted about her, but I have a little bitch with her right now. But the process of actually coming through with what you say, so
Right.
like she promised that she wouldn't ghost me on some pretty big issues. One being our children that have medical cannabis that they use the card, and it's gotten their autism to a place where they can go to public school, which is
Okay.
a great burden off the parent.
Of course.
The parent can go to work, do other things.
Yeah.
To utilize their medicine, they have to go 1,000 yards off the school premises. So
Right.
it becomes, again, a burden to the parent to come and administer the medicine every day or however it is needed.
Okay.
And if there's ever an emergency, we're just talking about autism in that case. What if it's epilepsy? What if this epileptic child that was never going to go to public school or any kind of school because of this horrible
Condition.
debilitating situation now can?
Yeah.
And if they have an episode, they need this administered, and it can't be, right? And that actually played out, I believe, it was in Maryland, Connecticut, somewhere. Horrible, tragic thing where the nurse is on the phone with the mother. The mother's racing to get there with the RSO to stop the seizing child, and I believe there was even medicine at the
At the school.
and the nurse was worried about her licensure.
Yeah.
In the legalities of it all.
Right.
And the child passed. And we should never be in a situation like that.
Never.
We should always be empowered to save. Even if and that poor nurse should have been educated in a way that she was never put in that position.
Right.
So that cycle of shit has to stop, again, with education.
For sure.
And we're all capable of that because we experience it, and then we can attest to it, right?
Yeah.
And then when it repeats itself, you're like, okay, well, this is the same scenario keeps kicking back. So
Yeah.
there might be some validation to it,
Right.
And then you see it in others,
Yeah.
and so forth. So yeah, we're all walking testaments, and we should look at ourselves like that to every naysayer, whether it's
sure.
somebody, your grandma, or some asshole around the corner that just
Right.
don't like the way you smell. Either way, we should try and bend their heads around it. Not the easiest task, but it's worth doing.
It's
because,
progressive.
yeah, the more we do, and we're getting legislation more my age and a little above in there.
Yeah.
So their mindsets are a little different, more open.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to start making decisions in accordance to that. But we got to vote the right ones. We have to have the right ones running as well. So
Yeah.
I encourage people who are scared of big politics, get into something small. Go to PTO, like be on the board at your local PTO and make a decision on
Be active in the community.
Yeah, even whatever it might be. The school board, municipality, something like that. Those are all things that you can actually assert your beliefs in and others and make a difference.
Right.
So I feel like I'm going to run for something eventually, but
Okay.
I don't know exactly what it will be, but a sheriff's position, a county commissioner position, something like that maybe.
Mhm.
Again, even lower levels. County commissioner can...
Precinct delegate.
Yeah, a county
Yeah.
commissioner can help speak to the health department issues,
Right.
and say, hey, look, this is going to be our procedure. We're not going to, go this route with things, So
Right.
some of those spots, and they're not big spots, like a mayor or whatever. So some of these things, you don't want to be seen or heard a lot about.
But you can still be just
behind the
effective.
scenes, and we got people doing that too. A lot of ladies out there in these small municipalities just grinding.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Small towns and small villages. It's not the easiest work,
Right.
To do that political
For sure.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, I seen your hat, the drug veteran hat.
Yeah.
I want to appropriately say thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a pioneer. Thank you for being an advocate. Thank you for putting yourself out there and helping the plant become better and emerge. And just in general, thank you for your service.
Yeah,
I feel like it's only appropriate. I seen the hat, the veteran.
Yeah, it's a great hat. This was given to me by Tree Street from Tree Street Packaging over in the West Side, and they do great work. Lots of packaging for caregivers available. Really cool shit, die cut stuff. I love, that's part of our culture too. The artwork.
Yeah.
The ancillary companies that were given an opportunity, whether it's a print shop like that or a bong shop or even a Mylar company. Like, hell, some people, I didn't know I could just buy Mylars and I got this printing thing and I can do this, or I can create things. You can create your own business from this industry, from this plant,
for real.
from this space. So I've seen people doing crochet little flowers. They're little buds. It's some kind of, I forget the name of the company, but it's these little crocheted marijuana buds,
People are being creative in the space.
Yeah, just great shit. Like, I'll give you $5 for that. It's great.
Right. Yeah, for
Stick
sure.
it on my window in a car.
Yeah.
Whatever, Those are cool things. And all the way up to bigger things, the T-shirts, those kind of things. That packaging is one thing. There's all of the promotional things. I'm sure there's been an uptick in the print companies.
And marketing.
The cups and whatever, posters,
exactly,
and flyers and books,
stickers, and graphics.
So, the butane industry, the extraction world. That I forget what it ticked up. It was like $2 or $3 trillion.
Had to
since the last 10, 15 years. All those things weren't things necessarily before cannabis.
Right.
So they were, but just not booming industries.
Right.
Somebody that could,
you can find your niche in this industry and have a successful business.
Right. Yeah. And even overlay shit, like something you already do, or whether it's catering food or if it's putting on party or seeds or whatever you might do, you can lay it in there. Yoga even. Like, I got yoga. Well, only 5 people came to regular yoga today, but the cannabis yoga we did on Sunday, there was 37 people, and and because the interest,
right.
Wow, okay, I can heal with this plant too. I can do it. It could be a part of my yoga routine. I didn't know that. Okay, maybe I don't want to smoke it all the time and party with it, but healing with it. I like to do that or something. It's versatile.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you coming on the platform. I would love to have you again, converse and pick your brain and educate me on a lot of different things. Special shout out to the Mothership Sanctuary for the opportunity. I was able to bump into you, and I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for a while. I'm gracious for your time. I appreciate the Mothership Sanctuary. But it's been another episode of Smoke Some Podcast. It's the Visionary Mind. I see it, I think it, I make it happen. Till next time, we out.